I'm Lisa, and I'm the mom half of this duo.
And I'm Shada. I'm Lisa's daughter. And welcome to Two Peas in a Plot, our little corner of the internet where we talk all things books.
We read across genres and love everything from underrated gems to longtime favorites.
And just a quick heads up while we try to avoid spoilers, we do talk about what we liked or didn't. So there might be a few light spoilers along the way just to give you some context.
So if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Shada again, starting off because I have read yet another book, which is very exciting. Today's book is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I believe this was published in 2006, so this has been out for quite a while. Um, and I'll give you a very quick, this is this is a fantasy novel, but I'll give you a very quick log line. A brilliant con artist and his tight-knit gang pull off audacious heists in a Venetian-inspired city until a ruthless crime lord turns their elaborate schemes into a deadly game of survival. I I'm gonna give another, I think I gave a spoiler alert for Dead Space when I read it. Before I had finished Dead Space, I had already ordered Callie Wallace's next book. Before I had finished this, The Lies of Locke Lamora, I had already ordered books 2 and 3 in the series. And I don't think it's a very long running series. Um, it only has 3 books right now, but I think he has plans for 5 or 6. Um, but I'm not going to hold my breath because the first one came out in 2006. I think the second one came out in 2012 or 2010, and maybe the third one came out in 2013. So it's been a while. These, uh, so again, I don't anticipate more coming out really soon, but I did really enjoy this. The writing was fantastic. The world building was fantastic. Um, Also, I am very weird. If anyone has played the Dragon Age series, a lot of people don't like the second Dragon Age game. I think it's getting a fair shake this time, but so Mom, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to hear a little bit of game history here. So the first Dragon Age is Dragon Age Origins, and it came out in I think 2009, and it was developed by BioWare, which developed the first Baldur's Gate game. And that was so successful. They wanted to do their own, but Baldur's Gate is an IP that's owned by, I think it's like a Dungeons and Dragons franchise. So it's an IP that they didn't own. So Dragon Age was basically their version of Baldur's Gate, but it was their own IP. And it was so wildly successful that BioWare was, I think BioWare was acquired before it came out, but it was acquired by EA, which is a huge corporation. And EA was like, oh, well, this Dragon Age game did well. Make a new one and make it fast. So Dragon Age 2 was their make a new one and make it fast. And a lot of people don't like it because it does reuse a lot of environments and some of the mechanics are a little wonky, but the writing in that game is amazing. The characters in that game are some of my favorite characters, and it takes place in a single city over the course of several years. And it's a smaller story about this, like, it centers on your main character who's a refugee, and then the people that she kind of adopts around her in this ragtag group of, like, not really misfits, but it's a very similar. So Dragon Age 2 is my favorite Dragon Age game, and this read very much like an Italian inspired Dragon Age 2, but with con artists. And I think for that in particular, because I'm not usually a heist person, like that, the heist thing doesn't interest me at all, really. Which so I think maybe that's why I've never read this before, but I've heard such good things about it, and I see why. And the heist was really fun. It wasn't why I was reading it, but it was really fun. And it's there's a good amount of swearing. There's a good amount of gore. So it is fun, but it also has a lot of, like, it also has a lot of dark parts to it. So I'm not doing a very good job of describing why someone should want to read this. And I went on a huge tangent about BioWare, but that's kind of my initial throwing that out there for you. So, Mom, you introduced questions for me as a person who hasn't read the book, and I really like that format. So I'm going to ask you some questions, but I'm going to
Okay.
give you a little bit more context about the book itself.
Hmm.
So it's structured very interestingly. It'll have these interludes where it jumps back to when Locke, who is our main character, Locke Lamora, when he's a little kid. And he's basically, I think the, like I said, the world building is very interesting. So it's a city with lots of like causeways, but like river causeways. So the city is created, I don't know. The city is a series of islands that have these canals running between them, and there are sharks in the canals. There's
Oh,
this whole,
wow.
it's very, very interesting. And the sharks are built into the culture of the city. But basically, Locke Lamora, when he's a little boy, is from this one borough, I guess, this one island that is very, very poor and is known for having these waves of plague. So every once in a while, the thief maker, this guy who basically recruits kids to steal for him, he goes in and he pays off the city guard to take a bunch of kids back, and Locke is one of them. So you learn more about Locke's childhood and how he became a thief, interspersed with what's happening in the present, where Locke is like 23, 25. And essentially, what he and his crew do is they find targets among the nobility and they steal from them. So they're kind of like Robin Hood sort of figures, except I mean, they're really running long cons on people, specifically nobles. And they're doing it in a way that, like, they're getting really, really wealthy, but they also have to pay a certain amount of money to this underworld, like, crime lord. And he doesn't know how much they make. He just thinks they're very loyal. So they're playing everyone in this city. So the first question I want to ask you is a con still fair if the target is corrupt? Like if they're stealing from corrupt people, do you think that's okay?
Oh, yeah. Technically, it's not okay, but I would find that it's karma or that that's what has to happen.
Now, what if, because as you're reading it, you start to realize like the active con that he's running, these people may not be that bad. Like they may
Mm.
not be bad people. They're just very rich. What about in that case? They're part of the oppressor class, even if they themselves might not be bad people.
I want to say I think it's okay, even though that makes me look bad.
It's fine. They got money. They're
Yeah, they
okay
got
with it.
money, they can deal with it. And it depends on what he does with the money when he gets it, or what if he gives kind of like a Robin Hood situation, you know.
It's
I,
very interesting, actually. So I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's a very interesting part where, like, he's the thief maker that takes him in. He gets into so much trouble with the thief maker that the thief it takes out a contract on his life. So he goes to the mafia boss and is like, I want to kill this kid. And he's a 6-year-old, but he's so brilliant. He's already made everyone angry. So he has a contract on the kid that he is allowed to execute if he wants to. But first he tries, it's not it's not out of goodwill. He just wants to make some money. So he goes to this priest and he says, I want to kill this kid, or I could sell him to you and make a few coins. And it ends up being the priest is like, all right, I'll take him. And the priest isn't actually a priest. He is a priest, but of a different god, of like the god of not really trickery, but like the god of thieving, but like in an honorable way. So it ends up being the best thing that happens to Locke. But at a certain point, when they're older, they've been running these cons, and they're when the priest bought him, the priest is already pretty old, and so he's passed by the time that you're reading in the present. And they say at a certain point, like he was really good at teaching them, like he teaches them how to integrate into cultures, how to infiltrate like different there I think 13 gods or at least 12 recognized gods and their secret 13th. He teaches them everything and he has all these connections. So they are like really cultured. They can blend in anywhere. They can steal from anyone really, really effectively, but he never taught them how to spend their money. So they're just stockpiling tons of money. And I don't know that they have a plan for it. So to your point about like it depends on what the money's for.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really for anything at a
Oh,
certain like I think they're kind of sitting on it going kind of looking at it like, well, what do we do with this? Oh, here's an interesting one. Is it safer to challenge power quietly or openly?
I like to think quietly, just because then the people that you're conning don't know and their true self comes out. Because if you do it the other way, I think they could make themselves look good.
Yeah.
Not.
Moo I watched this one YouTube channel and it's like I like her. I'm not always interested in what she talks about, but she
Mhm.
reads Reddit stories, but she'll say like move in the shadows. Like never let them know your next move. Move in the shadows. I think that is a good, yeah. I think you can get more, like you said, you can observe people in their
Yeah,
natural state a lot more if they don't know that you're actively challenging them.
right. They act more themselves, I believe.
Yeah. Interestingly, too, I don't think this is giving too much away, but Locke starts a con on this wealthy couple, and then he they're all masters of disguises. So they have like a whole disguise kit and they can like burn like not burn, but like I don't know, I don't think it's Mod Podge, but something some like theater makeup that can create like the appearance of scars. They have all this stuff that they use. So he and his one of his buddies dress up as this fabled secret police and they have a hard time getting into the compound, but they get in there and they basically tell on themselves. They're like, this guy that you're working with, he's not who he says he is. He's this other, he's a master thief. So he basically gives himself away, tips them off but it's very interesting. So
Interesting.
he's playing a long game with multiple angles with these people. Um, and I think it's a calculated risk because he's worried that eventually this I think why he does it is this couple, they're going to be at a certain point like, why do you keep asking for money? Like, I don't know that we can invest that much. So he sends in himself again as the secret police to say, this guy is running a con on you. Do whatever he asks, and
Oh,
we'll get him eventually. So he
oh.
basically he's trying to trick them. He's like, so they have so they can't just fall back on like, well, I don't know that we want to invest that much. He's going in as a secret police saying, give him anything he wants and we'll get him and we'll recoup your losses.
How funny.
One of my favorite parts of this book was that it's like a found family. So it's all these orphans that have been, I guess it sounds bad, but purchased by the priest. But that they kind of grow up together and there's the oldest ones are in their 20s. It's Locke and these twins. And then there's another kid who was about Locke's age when he was brought in. And then there's a little boy who's like 12 and he's the youngest of them. So they all have their specialties and I think that's really I love a ragtag group of people who aren't actually family but they become family because they work together and they care for each other. So I really enjoyed that. Um, and then there's a whole section here that I have questions about friendships. Um, would you risk everything for your inner circle? And I guess that's kind of like if you're in a fantasy world where the stakes are a lot higher than our average Americanized modern life, I guess that's a little bit different. But
In real life,
what do you think?
I would say no, because at a certain point, that person has to take responsibility for the way they behaved or whatever they did. And I could only support so much. and then that person has to take responsibility for the rest of it. I can just be there to be a guidance.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, I have pretty strong feelings about this. Can friendship survive professional betrayal? I
Ooh,
guess if you're on different sides of something, but it's like it's
yeah.
just business. I don't know. I don't know that I think it can.
I don't think
Unless
it,
it's like,
because
yeah.
I don't know that I could ever trust that person again. Even though it wasn't maybe directed to me, the betrayal, but what I saw, their behavior in a
Yeah.
betrayal to someone else or whatever it may be, I couldn't, I'd have to step back. As I step back, I moved away from the microphone because I'm
Oh yeah,
physically
you did.
stepping back. I'd step back and go, I don't really know this person then because I didn't think they would be capable of something like that.
Yeah. Well, and then there are some questions about identity that I think I don't know that these would be the most interesting of questions for us to
Hmm.
go over because I feel like we have the this kind of we think very similarly, but uh like can living a lie become dangerous? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can. But I do think this is an interesting thing. Is a fake identity still part of the real self? And I know you read a lot of spy things, or you did
Hmm.
at one point.
Yeah.
So there are people, and I know you love The Americans, the series about the Russian
Yes.
spies.
Loved.
And I mean, does part of that fake identity become their real life? I mean, they have kids, they have like
Yeah.
their whole life becomes their life.
I
I mean, they're
think it
like,
I think it blends together. Sometimes they can I'm thinking of the Americans though, or when they have to live that deep in a different identity than themselves. I think it blends into itself that it is part of their identity. And if
yeah,
they can separate it, they're they're really good at doing their job. But I think at a certain point, if you do it long enough, I don't think you can separate it as well. At least
yeah.
every aspect of your life. Maybe you could with the kids keep it separate, but maybe in your relationship or other things with your friends, I think it has to blend a little bit.
Yeah, I
That's an
would think so,
interesting question.
especially yeah, if you're playing a really long game, I'm sure you
Yeah.
have to absorb some of. Well, and I know at certain points in the novel when he's like when he's gearing up to be that secret police officer, and they they have to they're they come in and they're like they meet the I don't can't remember if he's a count. I think he might be a count or a don. I guess a don is a count in kind of Italian Renaissance. Uh, they're just casually in his study as he's having a drink, and they're like, "Don't worry, your your guardsman is fine." And but then when you see what they had to go through to get in, like the guardsman's fine, but they aren't like they're in pain because he's like an excellent fighter and they had to subdue him. And there's some like someone got kicked in the groin, like it got really bad. And so the main character is actually in a lot of pain because he got kicked in the groin.
Oh,
He's like trying to play it cool, but he does show a little bit of nervousness, but he's like he remembers his training. He's like he has to believe that he is that thing. So it
mhm,
does, I think you have to draw on yourself. So
mhm.
part of who you are to play those certain roles.
So I have one question. I'm not sure, and it doesn't matter, but I'm just curious. Is this a fantasy?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I mentioned it very, very briefly in
And
passing at the beginning,
And you probably did.
but
And sometimes, like I said, I don't, I'm more of a visual person. Even when I listen, I'm listening. I guess I'm not a good listener as I think I am. So I was just wondering, because it kind of sounds like it could be like an adventure, like, the Musketeers or something like that. I don't even know if
yeah,
that's fantasy, but, an
it's not
adventure
fantasy.
story.
But yeah, but it's still kind of, it takes place at, well, I don't I don't think I've read The Three Musketeers, but yeah, it is fantasy. There's a little bit of magic and it's in a world that isn't ours. And
Mhm.
there's like the but you really see the fantasy in the world building and
Yeah,
not so much in like the characters are running a con. Like it's
right,
not it could take place in any framework. I just
right.
so it's an unusual sort of fantasy in that it's not like, you don't have the chosen one or the person who's going to save the world. these scrappy orphans who are now young adults who are running a con against rich people. And and I think too, I don't know that I'd ever consciously looked at this book because like I said, it's been out for 20
Yeah.
years. Um, but I think it wouldn't have intrigued me, especially when I was younger, because I
Yeah.
was so into the more classically structured fantasy novels. But this was so fun. And I think actually you would enjoy a lot of aspects of it
Yeah.
because you just kind of sit back and let them run their con.
And just go along with them.
Things start going wrong, but also on top of that, there's someone else in the city that kind of wants to watch the world burn and they get entangled with that person. So
Mhm.
that's very interesting.
What drew you to this book? Was it just
Um,
scrolling and you saw the front of the cover?
I think I've seen the cover a few times on like the Amazon storefront, and
Hmm.
then I was trying to figure out some comp titles with my own work. So, when you're reading a book description, it's like, oh, Game of Thrones meets Harry Potter, or which would be
Yeah.
the weirdest thing, but something like that. And I kept seeing the Lies of Locke Lamora, and I'm like, and I go
Oh.
and read the description. I'm like, this doesn't sound anything like what I'm writing, except that it takes place in a single city. And right now, my series takes place in a single city. But the first chapter, I was like, oh yeah, I see it.
Hmm.
It's very, very clearly fantasy, but also very irreverent and gritty. And it's like, it's not afraid to show the gross side of fantasy. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying like not traditionally gross, but like, there are plagues, there are there's like rampant corruption in the city between the guard and then so it's not like this glossy Tolkien-esque fantasy.
Right.
And it's not like Robert Jordan it is, I think, in that kind of Tolkien what am I trying to say? What is that word that I'm trying to figure out? Tradition. It's Robert Jordan has he has a lot of violence in his books, but it's still in that kind of grand Tolkien tradition of heroes versus villains. And I think The Lies of Locke Lamora is very much more Game of Thrones aligned, where it's about people, not necessarily about good versus evil. It's about people, and those people can be good and they can be bad, and they can be good and bad at the same time. And I did resist though, because like I said, I'm not really into heists as a general rule.
Yeah.
Like I think I saw someone say like this is Ocean's 11, but make it fantasy. And I'm like, that doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
But it was so good. I
Well,
really,
that's
really
good.
enjoyed it.
And you said you bought the other books in the
I
series?
bought them really early on before I even finished the first one.
Hmm.
So the second and third, I did hear that they are quite different from one another.
Mm.
Um, I mean that it's the same characters and it is still a fantasy, but I'm interested to see. I did see a lot of people say the second one is their favorite one, so
Oh,
that should be interesting.
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give you a quick lightning round here,
Okay.
and we'll see how it goes.
All right.
A lot of these are without context, but you can kind of get the. Okay, so long con or a quick score.
I'd be interested in a long con.
Oh, that would stress me out. Brains or blades?
Brains.
Would you rather work with a crew or work solo?
Oh, crew. I'm a I can't do anything by myself.
Lie well or fight well?
Lie well.
Yeah. Quit early or push your luck? I guess quit while you're ahead, more accurately,
I
or push your luck.
quit early
Yeah.
or quit while I'm ahead.
Would you prefer to have people's loyalty or leverage over them?
Loyalty. Because leverage feels mean.
Leverage is very transactional. Once you
Yeah.
lose that leverage, the
Yeah.
loyalty
The
is
true.
gone. Yeah. Outsmart or overpower?
Outsmart.
Steal from the powerful or survive the powerful? That one's an interesting one.
Hmm. Can I have both?
Both?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
let's do
want both.
both. Walk away rich or win at any cost? I feel like that's kind of like quit
Oh,
early or push your luck.
I want to walk away rich.
Yeah. I feel like you can always come back and like that
Yeah.
isn't that kind of winning, walking
Yeah.
away rich.
I think so.
Trust your people or trust the plan?
Trust your people.
Yeah. I feel like you have to trust the people in order for the plan to go
Yeah.
well.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
And there are some very interesting examples of that early on. Like the the young kid that's in their crew,
Mm-hmm.
he has they're trying to initiate the con, and he's watching from like several stories up uh, in the city. So he's looking down, and if he sees the city guard, he has to cause some kind of distraction. And he gets, so everyone has their little piece to play, and he's too high up. He starts to see all these things happening, and he's like, well, I can't do this because they won't see it in time, and I can't do this because they won't see it in time. So he decides to throw himself off of the building, and they're like, it's very exciting. So yeah, that wasn't part of the plan, but he was part of the
Right.
people.
Yeah.
So he knew the broad sweep of the plan. So he was like, how do I fix this so that the plan can still go forward? Um, okay, yeah, no, I guess I'll do this. This is like this rapid fire question that I'm gonna expend a lot of energy on building up is sort of kind of related to the the climax of the novel in a way.
Okay.
It's not a perfect analogy, so I don't think I'm giving anything away, but revenge or escape?
Ooh. I want to do both, possibly, but revenge only if the people are mean. And then I want to escape so they don't come after me.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
But I don't want to do revenge to people who are kind to me. I guess there would be no purpose of revenge, but
I don't think you'd be getting revenge on
yeah,
them. And then, no,
that's
this is in the context of the novel, this person deserves it. If you were to
good.
get
Yes.
revenge on this person, they deserve it.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a perfect analogy. It's not revenge or escape.
Yeah.
It's but there is a very interesting choice that our characters have to make at the end of the novel. And it's like you've got limited time and limited resources. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Interesting. Sounds really good.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a really fun book. And I think actually if I go to Amazon, yeah, like I said, this is really good. I do think it is a bit long in the sense that it's fantasy. There's a lot of world building, which I love. I can get lost in that forever. Oh, it has a blurb from George R.R. Martin himself. It says
Oh,
fresh,
wow.
original, and engrossing, gorgeously realized. It is. It's a fantastic book. And that I was like, I'm gonna check. It does have a best of book talk tag. So people are still talking
Mm.
about this book
Oh my
now, 20
goodness.
years later. So this is a fantastic novel. If you enjoy fantasy or heist novels or found family, I would absolutely recommend this. It's really fun. It is quite dark for how fun it is. I will
Hmm.
say that. But that didn't bother me at all. That's the kind of book I like. I want that's also to circle back, that is also very Dragon Age. Very dark, but very fun. So you get, and I feel like we have very limited time here, but I feel like that's kind of the human experience. You have a lot of fun, and you also you can have a potentially a lot of darkness. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks for being here and talking books with us.
And if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot with us. See you in the next chapter. Bye.
Bye, y'all.